a country of 1.4 billion people, home to the single largest pool of AI talent on the planet, responsible for more software engineers than any other nation in human history. India doesn't just deserve a seat at the global AI table, it arguably built that table. So when India announces the biggest AI summit the developing world has ever hosted, the IndiaAI Impact Summit 2026 at the stunning Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi, you'd expect fireworks. You'd expect the world to sit up and take notes. And honestly, parts of it are brilliant. The technical ambitions are real. The policy moves are genuinely innovative. But then, there's the other side. The side where people are literally stuck outside the gates, exhibitors can't get into their own booths, and the minister has to go on stage and apologize for the chaos. So today, we're going to break all of it down. The genius, the mess, and everything in between. Buckle up. This is the India AI Summit 2026, and I have some very strong opinions. Let's set the stage for anyone who's new here. Why should you, whether you're watching from San Francisco, Lagos, Berlin, or Bangalore, care about an AI summit in New Delhi? Here's why. We've had the UK Safety Summit at Bletchley Park that was all about existential doom. AI might kill us all. Let's write some guardrails. We've had the Paris Action Summit, very European, very regulatory. Let's make sure AI follows the rules. India just flipped the entire script. Their theme, Sarvajan Hitaya, Sarvajan Sukhaya, translates to welfare for all. And that's not just a pretty slogan painted on a banner. That is a strategic pivot. India is telling the world, while you guys argue about whether AI will destroy civilization, we're going to show you what it can actually do for 1 billion people. Think about it this way. The United States builds the brains, the massive large language models, the GPTs, the Claudes, the Geminis. Taiwan builds the muscle, the chips, the silicon, the hardware. India is positioning itself as the nervous system, the deployment layer, the country that takes all of that raw intelligence and plugs it into healthcare for 800 million rural citizens, into agriculture for 150 million farmers, into governance at a scale that no Western democracy has ever attempted. And here's my honest take. This is genuinely the smartest play India could make right now. Because let's be real, India is not going to outtrain OpenAI on frontier models anytime soon. We don't have the compute, we don't have the capital, but what India do have is the most complex, diverse, chaotic testing ground on Earth. If your AI model can handle 22 official languages, crumbling rural infrastructure, and 1 billion users who've never touched a laptop, congratulations, your model can handle anything. All right, let's talk numbers, because this is where the summit actually dropped some bombshells. India's IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw got on stage and laid out the GPU roadmap for the IndiaAI Mission. Currently, India has aggregated access to about 38,000 GPUs. Not bad for a country that was barely in the compute conversation 2 years ago. But here's the announcement. They're adding 20,000 more GPUs in the coming weeks. That takes the total past 58,000. But the real headline isn't the raw number. It's the price. The Indian government is offering compute access to startups and researchers at 65 rupees per hour. That is approximately 75 cents. 75 cents an hour. Let me put this in perspective. If you're a startup in Bangalore or a PhD student at IIT and you need H100 or B200 time to train your model, commercially that would cost you $2 to $4 an hour on AWS or Azure. India just said, "Nah, we'll do it for a quarter of that. Go build." Now, I want to be fair here. This is a game changer if India can sustain it. This effectively decommoditizes compute for Indian academia and early-stage startups. It removes the single biggest barrier to entry in AI research, which is not talent. India has talent coming out of its ears. It's compute. But, and this is a big but, let's talk about what I'm calling the sovereignty paradox. See, the Indian government loves the phrase sovereign AI. They use it constantly. We will control our own AI destiny. We will build our own tech stack. Great rhetoric. Inspiring stuff. One problem, every single one of those 58,000 GPUs made by NVIDIA, an American company, subject to American export controls, one phone call from Washington, one policy shift, one new sanctions regime, and India's entire sovereign compute infrastructure could be throttled overnight. You cannot build a sovereign house on rented land, period. And until India either develops domestic chip manufacturing, which is years away at minimum, or diversifies its hardware supply chain, the sovereign AI branding is more aspiration than reality. I respect the ambition. I question the timeline. One of the standout demos at the summit was BharatGen, India's government-backed initiative for indigenous generative AI. And this is where things get genuinely exciting. The demo showed real-time translation and voice-enabled AI services across 22-plus Indian languages, not just the big ones, Hindi, Tamil, Bengali, but moving into complex dialect handling. And the integration with Bhashini, India's national language platform, is seamless. The latency is impressive. My reporter on the ground was genuinely surprised by how smooth it was. Here's why this matters globally. Most AI development happens in English. Maybe Mandarin. The rest of the world's languages are basically afterthoughts. India is building AI that works in languages spoken by hundreds of millions of people who have zero representation in the training data of GPT-4 or Claude. Now, the honest assessment, because you know I don't sugarcoat things on this channel. BharatGen is an excellent translator but an average thinker. The reasoning capabilities still lag behind Meta's Llama or OpenAI's latest models. It can convert your question from Marathi to English beautifully, but the depth of the answer you get back? Still not frontier level. But here's my argument for why that's okay right now. India's priority isn't building the world's smartest model, it's building the world's most accessible model. And there's a massive difference. A farmer in Uttar Pradesh doesn't need GPT-5 level reasoning. He needs to ask a question in Awadhi and get a useful answer about crop rotation. BharatGen is solving for access, not intelligence. And I think that's the right priority for now. Okay, deep breath, because now we need to talk about the part that genuinely frustrated me. Day one of this 5-day summit was, and I'm not being dramatic here, a logistical disaster. Thousands of registered attendees stuck in hours-long queues. Exhibitors, companies that paid to be there, locked out of their own booths. A lack of basic amenities like water at a government-hosted event in February in Delhi. It was so bad that Minister Vaishnaw had to publicly apologize on day 2. Now, credit where it's due, at least he acknowledged it. But the fact that it happened at all tells you something important about the gap between India's AI rhetoric and its AI reality. And I want to make a deeper point here because this isn't just about queue management. If India wants to build and operate massive AI data centers, which require flawless cooling, redundant power, precision logistics, and you can't manage the entry line to your own showcase event, that's a credibility problem. It's not a fatal one, but it's a real one. And let's talk about what's on the agenda. 793 events over 5 days. 793. That's not a summit. That's a content tsunami designed to make headlines, not decisions. And who's on stage? Government officials, Microsoft executives, NVIDIA leadership. All important voices, sure. But you know who's not on the main stage? Labor unions talking about AI job displacement in a country where millions of BPO workers are staring down automation. Data privacy advocates in a country that still doesn't have a fully implemented data protection framework. Civil society voices, grassroots technologists. The summit theme says people, planet, progress, but the people part feels like a footnote. I'll say it plainly. There's a fine line between a nation showcasing its achievements and a government running a PR exercise. Right now, this summit is dancing right on that line. The substance is there. The GPU subsidies are real, BharatGen is real, the DPI integration is real, but it's wrapped in so much spectacle and self-congratulation that you have to dig through layers of noise to find it. All right, let me give you my honest scoreboard based on what we've seen through day 2. Technical ambition and policy innovation, I'm giving India a solid B+. The GPU subsidy is unlike anything any Western government has attempted. The integration of AI with India Stack and digital public infrastructure is genuinely world-class. The open source commitment with BharatGen is promising. These are not incremental moves. These are bold, creative policy levers. Execution and ground reality. That gets a C-. The summit logistics were embarrassing. The overstuffed agenda dilutes impact. And the absence of critical voices, labor, privacy, civil society, suggests the government is more interested in controlling the narrative than having a real conversation. And here's the meta point I want to leave you with. This gap between B+ ambition and C- execution is the Indian AI story right now. It's the story of a country that has every ingredient for success: talent, scale, political will, digital infrastructure, but keeps tripping over the same old problems: bureaucracy, infrastructure, and an instinct for spectacle over substance. But here's the thing, and this is important. Despite everything I just said, I am genuinely hopeful, and I'll tell you why. Because India has done this before. Not in AI specifically, but in tech broadly. Remember when the world laughed at the idea that India could build a digital payment system that would leapfrog Visa and MasterCard? UPI now processes more real-time transactions than every other country on Earth combined. Remember when Aadhaar was dismissed as too ambitious? It's now the world's largest biometric identity system. India has a pattern: dream big, stumble early, iterate fast, and eventually deliver at a scale that makes everyone else look slow. The summit still has 3 days left. Day 5 is when we expect the Delhi Declaration, a joint statement from Global South nations on data sovereignty that could reshape how the developing world negotiates with US and EU tech policy. That is the real story, not the queue management failures of day 1. So here's what I need from you. If you found this breakdown valuable, and I hope you did, smash that subscribe button. Hit the bell icon, because I will be covering the Delhi Declaration the moment it drops. We're going to break down what it means for AI regulation globally, what it means for data sovereignty, and whether the Global South actually managed to present a united front against the tech hegemony of the West. India's AI story is messy, it's chaotic, it's frustrating, but it is the most important AI story happening on the planet right now, because if AI can work here amidst the chaos, the linguistic diversity, the infrastructure gaps, and the sheer human scale, then it can work anywhere, and that changes everything. I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious, stay critical, and stay connected.